What is up, everyone? Hello, and welcome to this episode of the TSMU Q&A series. I'm your host, Christian Homili. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the global sales executive. I work with brands, making deals, all whilst being the first introduction brands have into TSM. I also come up with some fun activations and help pitch TSM and esports. Today is honestly going to be one of my absolute favorite episodes because we're joined by an extremely special guest, Erik Marino. Erik, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm doing great. Just here at TSM headquarters.
Yes, sir. Quick reminder slash overview for those who have not seen this show. For this Q&A, we'll be pulling questions from our TSMU Discord. So if you have any question for Erik, head to discord.gg/TSMU and ask your question in the Ask Stream Questions Here channel. If you've asked your question and want to ask live on voice, join the waiting room voice channel to wait to be selected to join us on the show. Today's show will be on voice only, so unfortunately won't be seeing our faces, but happy to fill in the context with our lovely voices. Let me tell you guys, Erik is an absolute legend. He's not only in the esports apparel scene, but the fashion industry as a whole. I was absolutely stoked when we first met, and I'm so glad I get to introduce you all to him. My TSMU fam, he has an absolute amazing story, and I can't wait for you all to hear about it. While people get their questions, Erik, can you tell us about yourself, your massively tenured resume, and what you do at TSMU?
Yeah, sure. I basically came from the streetwear industry where, originally when figuring things out, rather than going to college, I got into graphic design by way of hip hop music for the most part, because I used to compete in battles, rapping, and host hip hop events that turned into me making flyers for the events, that turned into me making T-shirts to sell at the events, which sparked my interest in clothing. Moved to New York City and made my way into working for Academics, which was a popular hip hop clothing label, and then wanted to try working at a music label. So I got my way in as at J Records and Sony Music. Worked my way up to art director at Sony Music before I realized that doing CD packaging and music for Alicia Keys and getting Jamie Foxx additional abs photoshopped into his pictures was not my thing. So I started a T-shirt line with a friend called Rocksmith, and moved to Tokyo to start the brand in Japan. And then it grew, and I was still working at with the record label. But as soon as we made the Wall Street Journal, I quit my job and started doing Rocksmith full time. Was living in Tokyo, between Tokyo and New York, and just had a great time doing clothes, and just kept growing it incrementally as a streetwear brand. And yeah, I did that for probably 12 years. It became like a pretty big deal in the industry, as far as like sustaining as a business owner a team of 25 to 30 people, office in Brooklyn, in New York, just having a great time traveling the world, selling our clothes eventually into like Foot Locker and mainstream doors after being more independent. And then eventually I did a deal with Echo with the clothing line, and moved out here to California, where I started. I was doing like work with Puma and a bunch of clients, and I ran into some old friends that were one of them was the president of FaZe Clan. So at a party, he asked me if I wanted to join FaZe Clan and basically build out the lifestyle brand of FaZe Clan, similar streetwear vein style, because all of this is interconnecting, like streetwear, sneakers, gaming, like we're all essentially one community. So I spent almost 3 years at FaZe Clan as the creative director, then executive creative director, just bringing collabs and like special projects, merchandise, and a visual image for them. Like the phase camo was one of my first designs that I did actually my first week at FaZe Clan. Now it's like their signature look. But yeah, so I had a great time being here in California and working at FaZe Clan. But then I decided to reach out to TSM because I saw a lot of potential in TSM, and you know, it's real prestigious as far as like, you know, winning legacy and, you know, just the whole vibe of TSM. I just noticed that there wasn't a lot of like merchandise, and I realized that like, hey, TSM is like a true esports org. Not to knock FaZe, but FaZe is entertainment and esports. Uh, so yeah, I came over here and took the position as VP of apparel, and have just been on a mission to build a identity and brand and apparel products around the TSM organization and the history and legacy of TSM.
Now, Erik, I had no idea that you rap, man. That's something we're gonna need to hear in the future. Chris's
Well,
party, I don't.
if I was better, then I would be a professional at that. But design saved me from that embarrassment.
No, I honestly, I'm stoked. He's gonna crush it. Star of the Christmas party is what I am seeing in this near future. That is amazing, guys. Erik, that story is. Whenever you tell me about your career, I always think that's incredible. You guys will, TSMU, you'll find out as this interview go on. But he's definitely met some amazing names out there. I'm sure you caught the couple of years with Jamie Foxx and J Lo. Honestly, I'd actually love to kick this off with my own question. Erik, I want to just get to know a little bit about, what inspired you to jump into fashion, right? I think you brought down this long tenure, and you definitely bootstrapped to work your way up to your position. But I mean, in more particular, do you have any key designers slash brands that thinking back is what you wanted to be? I follow, I don't know if you knew this, but I follow you on IG, and I definitely saw your call out to your Virgil Abloh. May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Everyone, he's amazing, talented designer of Off-White, and so is that a name that sparked truth? I'd love to hear more about any heroes you might have had.
Well, Virgil is actually a couple years younger than me, and I met him in the past, and he's friends with a lot of my friends from Chicago. It's a real shame. Like, he's an absolute legend, like
Yeah.
brilliant. Really sad to hear that, and I'm sad for my friends that were close to him. But what inspired me more was hip hop. I mean, I'm like from the community, so like when I started making T-shirts and like P Diddy and Jay-Z were wearing it, like it just was so exciting for me. So that it's really like my love for music that got me into fashion, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And like just moving to New York and being like submerged in the scenes there. And my older sister played a big part. She's a photographer. She got me like inspired to pursue like this type of career. And then coming to TSM, FaZe Clan, and then TSM is just kind of full circle, because I was big in gaming like earlier. I'm a little older, so the gaming wasn't online back then, but I was like heavy into gaming my whole life until like my mid-20s when I moved to New York. So being able to get back or going full circle into like a gaming environment is exciting for me, and different from the last like 15 years I did in like pure fashion. So it's kind of cool to like merge the two.
No, right on. I mean, I think that's such an interesting narrative, right? Like, I think your story is very much illustrative of kind of pop culture, or just culture in general, kind of intersecting in through, and illustrating through entertainment channels, right? You started off with music, you obviously found your way into fashion, and then I think gaming is coming to a really big, crucial, pivotal point of culture in its entirety. So to see your career kind of work out like that, I think personally kids can definitely learn from that and see, hey, one interest might lead to the next, and you just gotta be open for it. I think that's awesome, Erik.
Yeah, you just got to follow like what you really want to do. Like, if like, you're only going to excel if you're like passionate about what you do. And
Most stuff.
for me, gaming is like exciting. The industry is like super exciting. It reminds me of early streetwear in terms of the excitement and the energy behind it. And that's why I feel like the product space also is exciting. I think I just lost my train of thought, but yeah, no, it feels the energy in gaming and products around gaming right now is in digital items, like everything is just very new and fresh. I feel in this space.
No, that's awesome to hear. Actually, thinking back, I mean, obviously working in this industry now, myself, I didn't, unfortunately, didn't get to experience the booming culture of like the '80s or even the early '90s when I was a baby. But whenever you see styles slash looks slash ads in general from that era, slash music, I don't know. For me, I've always saw that that's like the peak of culture. But it's cool to see that we're nearing a near mountain type as well.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I was partners with the Wu-Tang Clan. That was, I don't know why I missed that, but yeah, speaking of hip hop, I worked with the Wu-Tang Clan for 4 years, 4 or 5.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's a big one, but also it wasn't it. I mean, maybe if I'm so correct me if I'm wrong here, but not only did you work with them, but you're almost the creator founder of that creative brand, right?
Well, I was partners in the merchandise and the products with Wu-Tang, but I had to interface with all the artists like on a daily basis for the most part. So
No, that's huge.
growing up on Wu-Tang, that was like exciting for me.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal brand, and it's just so amazing. I do want to lead off to the questions that we have from the fans. Question one from Pegasus. He asks, "How do personal brands compare to an organization? Similar? Are there similarities, differences, challenges?"
Uh, I'm sorry, could you read that? I'm a little bit
Yeah,
confused.
absolutely.
Personal brands.
How do personal brands compare to an organization, right? I think almost I would say like are there similarities or challenges? Personal brands probably like your own personal brand, like who you are, I guess, featured as Erik Marino, if you're branding yourself versus the organization, if I'm getting that correctly.
How does it compare? Well, it's very similar. I mean, like I've never really been about like self promotion. Uh, that's why the brand that I started was called Rocksmith, and it was about like the hip hop community, and not for instance if I started a brand called like Erik Marino. So I don't think I've ever been about like a personal brand as much, but what we do here at TSM is is in the same vein of what I was doing with Rocksmith and Wu Tang. The TSM logo uh, is paramount. Like it's comparable to like the Wu Tang logo. It means something to an audience. It means something to people that grew up watching their favorite like teams and streamers, and so yeah. I don't know if I answered the question correctly, but that's my answer.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think organizationally speaking, I think that contrast to a Wu-Tang Clan, I know from a sales perspective, I'm always making contrast to the Lakers, right? When I'm talking to other brand prospects who are in the maybe more familiar with the traditional sports. So I think it's that historic legacy and just the logo means more than just the company. It's your childhood, right? And I think sometimes with personal brands, there's a similarity in that aspect as well. I will say there's a lot you can do with that logo too, from just changing the I guess style and kind of voice of TSM. For those of you who don't know, I think historically we the last few years or so, TSM could have used some work in merch, and when we brought Erik, who really understand how to create that personal brand and create that contrast into this organization. I think you can see the tremendous difference it has on the TSM shop alone, and us as a whole. So that's awesome. Question two, Webb actually asks, should we? This is a cool one. Should we expect any anime collabs, Erik?
Yes, I can't disclose details, but yes, definitely in the pipeline.
They're hype, guys. They're hype. All right, go to question three. Pegasus actually asked, "What do I need to do to grow my brand? How do I maintain growth once I've become a bigger brand?" And I think this is leading back to his first question, where it's about that personal brand. So I mean, taking it over to the personal aspect of it, do you have any suggestions in how someone could help really, I guess, create their own brand and grow that?
Well, to start, I would just be like a student, like of it, like seek out like advice, seek out information, and just be mindful, be curious, and learn what it takes to do a brand. If you're talking when you say brand, I'm assuming that you mean like clothing, because personal brand could also be like you know like like Ninja, or like if you're streaming as your personal brand. But for from a product standpoint, like if you want to do like a clothing brand, it's just important to. I don't think it necessarily requires school, but it does require uh, just getting out there in the mix and going to things like ComplexCon and like reaching out. And internships are actually a really good way, with clothing companies, with streetwear brands like the Hundreds, or a lot of different companies. I would say I would definitely recommend an internship, actually, if you're just starting out. That's where you're going to learn the most, like, and you're be immersed like behind the scenes, in what an actual brand does. That would be probably, if you're just starting, that would be my advice for to if you really want to do it well, like do an internship with a brand that you like, because you'll learn a lot more than you would like if you just like, say for instance, try to get like a degree in fashion. uh, Hands-on experience is paramount. I think it's the most important. I did apprenticeships early on just to get good at design, uh, and got exposed to communities that way. So that would be my advice to, as far as to start. Then, like if you already have a brand and you're growing it, I mean, just be mindful and know your audience, and don't overproduce. Like don't just be cautious with how you invest in the products you're making, and make sure that the audience wants that product. Remember, it's not about necessarily like what I'm doing this. It's not for me. You have to really know and give the audience that you find and develop what they want. So that's like very important.
No, that's absolutely good advice. I mean, I think sometimes it's hard to pull yourself out from the actual narrative of what people want, and I'm sure we often find bias through our own personal opinions.
Yeah,
Um,
I've
yep.
seen I've seen I've seen really big name artists that are like kind of self-absorbed, so they just put out just what they want personally, and then it doesn't do well. So like really important that you know your audience, and communicate, especially now with with how big social media platforms are. You can do so much direct communication with your audience and really like build a community.
Yeah, I mean, actually, follow from that. How important do you think it is to actually stay true to your voice, though, at the same time knowing what your fandom obviously seeks for and why they've fallen in love with you? Because I think bringing this to music per se, I do know it is quite often where DJs have to almost create right a separate name or a separate character because they want to do a little bit more of art that they're interested to, but they also don't want to confuse their fans with with the different style per se, right? Like I think with EDM music, it's almost like you're switching subgenres, so you don't want to necessarily lose your fans. To your absolute point, but also like I'm sure as an artist, there's also a mix of being able to do what what I guess what you makes you happy and stuff.
Right. Yeah, no, well, I think you just got to consider yourself, whatever like fan base or community that you're building around your brand. Like
Hmm.
you have to remember that you are part of that community, not like the leader of the community, for instance. So, uh, I think you can always. I think an organic community is going to always uh, be with you. I mean, you're going to have the common point is you share a lot of like the same interests to even for the community even to exist. I think that's the same in gaming. I think that's the same in music, in art, and fashion. So, uh, so yeah. I mean, I think if you're just you know basically be yourself, and the community that you're promoting to will will accept that.
No, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. That's super true. We actually have another question. We have a question from Captain Awesome. Excuse me. This is more going back to the fashion and kind of merch releases. But is there a good way to predict season trends or styles? I think when you're putting together your kind of products that we sell out and doing, is there a kind of a methodology that goes into your thought process of like, okay, this trend of style is going to be is going to be a hit, or is it also like, hey, this style was this style has been hot last this season, everyone loves it, let's make a TSM version of it, or do you almost predict a new product that you think will be hot?
Well, you got to have like a ratio, like 70% should be like core staple items. And that's like stuff that doesn't go out of style. Like our TSM, like varsity jacket, it's never going to go out of style.
Yeah.
So you stick to like, I like to do like a 70-30% you can try like experimental and on trend. But the problem is like, and I know this from streetwear, if you hit the tail end of a trend and you produce a bunch of products, you're going to be sitting on them.
Yeah.
So, you don't like, you just got to know your audience, and you got to know if you're gonna do stuff that's like very experimental. I would just suggest keeping it to like no more than like 30% of what you're doing, unless you're like a runway designer. Like when runway designers, when you watch like Project Runway and those shows, like they're not really making stuff for people to wear. They're going for impact. And then what they do is they then have like a ready to wear line of a lot more basic stuff, but they'll go crazy on the runway. And like when you watch the shows, you're like, nobody would ever wear that, but it looks cool.
Yeah, actually, that kind of brings me is so. I mean, I guess that side of business for sure, and on brands that walk the runway and whatnot, and who knows, maybe we'll have an esports runway one of these days. I think that would be sick. But how like I'm sure, is it almost like there are clothing lines that are almost more of a marketing play, right? Like, the Dior's of the world, the Gucci's of the world, the Victoria's Secret world. Like, obviously, Victoria's Secret, they're not going to be selling stuff with angel wings that are 20 feet high, right? But is it almost that's the marketing side of things, getting the brand play exposure on those runways, those big fashion shows, and then obviously you have the actual direct to consumer business, right? That you're selling out products that are actually work functionally and look good at the same time.
Exactly. I mean, that breaks it down. It's like, yeah, nobody's going into Victoria's Secret to buy big angel wings, but it's exciting, and it looks cool, and like, it is marketing. That's a good way to put it. It's definitely marketing. And for us at TSM, it's like important to just try our best to make the clothing items that TSM fans want to wear. So
No.
like further, like I've been with TSM maybe 6 months now or so, but still researching every day, looking at data, seeing what's working, seeing what people like, checking out the comments. I read all the social media comments. I check out Reddit because I want to know like if people like things or not.
Yeah, y'all heard it here first. If you want specific TSM merch for, jump on those Reddit socials, so TSM socials, put what you want. If it's Victoria's Secret giant 28-foot wings, then we can make that happen in black and white.
Or if I'm
um,
if I'm not reading it, then Dunk is definitely hitting me like we need 3x.
that's jokes, man. Pegasus asks again, how does one go about determining the direction of the brand? What does it mean to market your brand? Speaking more towards the brand side of things,
What was the first part of it? The question?
how does one go about determining the direction of the brand? What does it mean to market your brand? So I think it's almost like, how do you figure out your brand identity, and how do you market that?
Oh, well, determining the direction of your brand should be the very first thing that you do. Because without a direction, like I wouldn't suggest creating a brand. It has to come from within. Like like I said earlier, you have to be really passionate about what you're doing in any space. I think also pertains to gaming. Like, you're not going to excel in a game if you're not like truly passionate. So it's the same thing with doing like a clothing brand or personal brand. Like, that direction just has to come from within. You have to kind of know who you're marketing to, but I would always recommend make something that you want, and then from there, your audience of like-minded people will appreciate it. And that's kind of like a way to start a community. What you don't want to do is make stuff that you don't like or that you won't wear yourself when it comes to clothing.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think it actually goes back to your earlier point, right? Where it's just staying true to yourself and trusting that your fans, love you for you and what you do. And that speaks so much for an organization as well. So that's great.
Yeah, that's part of why I like the products in the esports space, is because I love sportswear. Like,
Hmm.
I like comfort. Like I wear a lot of sportswear. So, the gaming community seems, from what I've seen from FaZe to TSM, seems to really appreciate sportswear too. Like, just comfortable hoodies, like uh, good sweatpants, like stuff that you can just be comfortable in but look cool at the same time. Uh, so that's why I like making products for this community.
No, that definitely seems like how one, if if you ever get the honor of meeting Erik, you'll see he has some of the hypest fits. But it's funny that he says this, and we're over Discord because I see that every time you walk in the office, man. I think it's lit. You have great fits. And actually speaking on that kind of line of type of style and fits that you're creating currently and what you love, Pegasus actually also asked what works well in the current market. So I'm assuming this is more on the product end, right? Like, I guess, do you have any certain product types? I know tech fashion's huge, stuff like that. That is, one, interested you, but two, you see that fans want and love.
I mean, the hoodie and the t-shirt is just like,
Hmm.
you just never go wrong. Like, it's like that's like the staple, the item that will never die, and people will always want a hoodie, a t-shirt, uh, and then from there you could branch out into like, jackets and whatnot. But like, for instance, I don't think people would be looking for like TSM jeans right now.
Hmm.
To throw that out as like a different kind of product. For jeans, you might go to like Levi's or another, depending on your taste. But yeah, no, the hoodie is like paramount. It's praise, all praise the hoodie.
Is that also your all-time favorite, I guess, product or apparel type? Like, is there anything maybe more so about trends and styles and kind of eras, but is there like an era that specifically calls out to you as the greatest fashion era? And in particular, is there something, or was there a type of fit that you love the most?
I like t-shirts, honestly. That's
Yeah.
my favorite. Like, but t-shirts, because I'm coming from like a design, like a graphic standpoint, like from my background, the graphic t-shirt to me is just the best thing ever to exist, because you can do, and that, on the hoodie as well, but on like just the graphic t-shirt, it's affordable usually. Uh, you can just like convey so many types of designs and concepts uh, on t-shirts. I love the t-shirt. That's like my all-time favorite item.
Yeah, so I'm follow up on that and kind of curious on then on the era part. Is there a certain era that you see as the quintessential greatest time of fashion? 90s, 80s, 70s, maybe it's now?
Uh, there's positives and negatives to all of them. I personally like the 2000s. Early 2000s is probably my favorite. That's like early Bathing Ape, uh, early streetwear, like Futura, the artist in New York. Like, that's probably my favorite era. But uh, generally my taste, I love like retro futuristic. I like sci-fi, uh, that kind of vibe.
The Back to the Future callbacks.
Maybe more like Space Odyssey,
Based on
like yeah, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool, man. I bring that up because I think the next question is kind of going back and looking in the past a little bit. But Pegasus also asks you, can you give some insight on into some of the marketing campaigns at TSM, and honestly your previous work at Phase? I think diving in that question, it's almost like, are there any particular campaigns that you worked at both at Phase and TSM that stuck out to you? Ones that are your favorite? Maybe it's before esports too, but I think TSM and Phase starting off in particular.
Yeah, I mean, with TSM, I would say we just came off the Neo Tokyo campaign, which which was super fun. We shot it in Tokyo on some gamer influencers that are based there. To me, that was a fun concept. I wasn't in Tokyo for it, but a lot of my close friends in Japan uh, did the shoot for me, so it was fun. I really like to be hands on and be on shoots normally. Uh, and we have some good ones coming up with TSM, and you know, with a lot of like our talent and best players, and it's exciting to to think about the next ones. The one with Myth was cool. That was
Hmm.
here local at the office. Getting to know him during the shoot was a pleasure. And then like as far as Phase, yeah, they were all like fun. The marketing campaigns. I mean, part of the thing is like if you're gonna make products, like you can't just stop there. You gotta like do a campaign for it. So that's like probably the more fun part. I really enjoyed doing like my G-Shock campaign was fun because we used like a robot arm camera. Uh, that was a fun one. And what else? From the Phase days, I really liked the Juice World Phase Clan campaign because we did it at a paintball course, so we were having fun while shooting it. Uh, I've done a lot of campaigns. They're all fun. I mean, it's like the best part is like when you're done making the products and you get to like concept how to like show them off uh, and how they look online with the photos.
I'm sure you've also run into some amazing names too, during these shoots for models and such. Is there any names that actually call out to you that you can
Yeah,
say, I love that person?
yeah. My thing when I was doing Rocksmith, my streetwear brand, I was always scouting for who's the next biggest hip hop stars. So what I would do was like, for instance, for one campaign, we we used Kendrick Lamar before he was
Yo,
like famous. So Kendrick did like if you go back to the ADHD music video, you'll notice that it starts with Rocksmith Presents, and then he's wearing the stuff all throughout. And he was young, and we were helping him in New York when he visited New York City. We were getting him like interviews with magazines, and in turn, he modeled and the same thing with uh, right before they got super popular. I flew the Migos up from Atlanta to New York, and they were like a holiday 2013 campaign. Uh, and then we did a party. So I hosted them for their first ever New York City show, which was a Rocksmith Presents. So that was super fun. I mean, as far as like with Rocksmith, like a lot of the big names like Chi Herbo and uh, Kendrick Lamar, Future, Two Chains, like were all modeled or did videos with us.
oh
So
man, that's sick. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's good times. I mean, and then now, gaming's a little different. It's not as many like hip hop artists involved, but but super fun.
Oh, that's really cool. I got to find my way on one of these sets. If you ever need an assistant or a gaffer, I got you. picker upper of heavy things here. I got a question from Fuck Up who asks, say I really like an esports org, especially on the apparel slash modeling front. What's a good way to get into the scene starting out? So I think this is more for career advice and finding your way, not only in esports, but maybe merchant and apparel in particular.
I would, well, from modeling standpoint, I mean, it doesn't hurt to send like a portfolio or photos and to the org. If it came by way to my department, I would definitely like look and check it out. As far as like, I would advise more to try to make your way in with programs like this TSMU, and like, just if you're support at org, like just see what lanes you can take, whether it's internships, whether it's TSMU, like how do you reach out and connect to the org that you're a fan of. For modeling, that would just be more sending photos, honestly, to be in like photos for an org. I mean, generally, like modeling in esports it's usually talent that is part of the org primarily, but brands and orgs are always looking for people to model the apparel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I've seen some of the lines, where there were definitely models non-talent and stuff, and I'm sure that seems where you kind of get that pull. And no matter what, I kind of feel like even no matter what type area of business it is, seems like portfolio is honestly everything. Like I think it's all about portfolio, what you have to show. If you have an illustration of your past work slash things that you create, right? It's almost like saying, "This is what I can do for your org. Hire me," right? Or choose me as your model.
Yeah, anybody that wants to model for TSM, go ahead and send an email with photos to the email on our tsmshop.com.
Oh,
And
let's go! You heard it first here first, guys. Got another question actually that I'm sure a lot of people don't really even think about it. I would say, or when they do, it's kind of one of those random food for thoughts as you're in the checkout. But can you actually explain how merch gets made, right, all the way from ideation to the store?
yeah, well, I mean, the idea is the first thing. The graphics, if it's graphic items or a logo, you need to basically create a tech pack, find a printer or embroiderer or whatever vendor, whether it's here in the US or in China, usually for custom made apparel. And you need to have money, I guess, to pay for the invoices and get it made. But yeah, it's really just designing, creating a tech pack so that the vendor knows how to produce, meaning calling out measurements, colors. Get yourself a Pantone swatch book for colors, and then send it in, have it printed. You got to choose whatever tees are the best for you as far as blanks, unless you're making them custom, which is more complicated. And you can. I'd recommend checking out, if you want like blank tees, check out like SNS Activewear. That's probably the better like blank suppliers in the US to just buy like blank t-shirts and get them printed. And then let's see, from ideas to store. So, then your manufacturer or your printer makes your products, and you should really think about what the marketing is for your products, because you do need marketing, whether it's social medias or whatnot. You do need some level of marketing to show people your products. As far as to store, I mean, if you have an e-com store, you can set one up yourself. Most people use Shopify, from big companies to startups. will use a Shopify. So you can pretty simple to directly sell your products on your own store. If you're talking about like trying to get stores to carry your product, that's a whole nother level of steps to do. That's called wholesale. So I was doing that primarily with Rocksmith, and Wu-Tang was wholesale to like mom and pop shops, working our way up to like Foot Lockers and Macy's and the bigger stores. But these days, like, I did that because e-com sales wasn't as big in the early 2000s, and like up until like really when Instagram came out, like 2013 is when like e-com really popped off for clothes. So nowadays, like a lot of people I know in the streetwear and fashion industry, they're not even wholesaling because it's a kind of a headache. You got to get buys from stores, then you got to collect. You got to collect on the money, the invoices, give terms. It's just like a lot that's involved. So these days, a lot of people are just focusing on their socials and building their own web stores. And also your overhead's a lot lower. So you're not spending as much. And these days it's almost all like people just selling on websites.
Wow, there you guys have it. You have the whole ammo to go off and make an apparel and merch store on your own. That's great. Um, we have a next question from Badger who asks, "Are fads something worth taking advantage of in the apparel industry, or are they so short-lived that by the time the production process is over, they have already died out?" And
If you
so,
move,
yeah,
if
okay.
you move quick on it, then yeah, but I wouldn't make that your bread and butter. Like, definitely go for more staple items first. If you can move quick, I mean, to print a T-shirt doesn't take that long. At most, you're talking about like 3 weeks with like a local screen printer. So it's worthwhile. I used to do that for sneakers that would come out. I would like research and get access to like Nike's release list
Oh,
early, and then I'd match t-shirts to the shoes. So that's how part of how I got into like Foot Locker was we always had the best matching t-shirts to the popular sneakers that were coming out. So that's a fad, I guess. But you got to be quick on it. Things are short lived. That's what's good about having your own e-com store is you save a lot of steps because you can just put a T-shirt on your own Shopify like pretty quickly. So yeah, it's worth it. I mean, you just got to be quick.
yeah. Is it kind of dependent, obviously, on the fad too? I'm sure there are some that I don't know seem a little gimmicky or really speaks to only one audience, where other parts of your fandom might kind of cringe at it.
Yeah, you just gotta use your judgment and pick wisely.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
thing is like you're always like you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make product that's a dud. Like you just got to keep it moving. Just be safe. Like don't go crazy on the amount of products that you make. Be safe and just really look at data. Very important. Uh, See what's selling, and just your judgment improves like over time. Like I sure as hell know a lot more now than I did when I was like 20 years old, like doing t-shirts.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I actually speaking about kind of mistakes. Another question we have is TSM's merch has a reputation for being lacking before you joined. What were your priorities once you joined the company on how to change that? I'm sure you've done your research and kind of looked at what we had previously, but I would, speaking, echoing what I said earlier, I think when you joined, it was this complete revamp, and I hope honestly fans see that. So is there any insight on what you did to really kind of make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I just looked at it like a rebrand, but not a rebrand in terms of the look necessarily. Because everything is still primarily based around the TSM logo, but I just wanted to give like TSM, the TSM community, like quality is super important. So
Hmm.
like, because I've done this for a long time, I know what good quality items there are out there. And like, it was important to me that the t-shirt's really nice, like the weight on it, it's like 5.5 uh, ounces, real soft spun cotton. Like, you just got to pay attention to the details, because like I said, I just love to wear sportswear all the time: hoodies, t-shirts, sweats, like nylon, like running pants. Like, I want TSM quality to be like on par with like Nike and Adidas, because essentially, we are, from a merchandise standpoint, we are a sportswear company like Nike's, like Adidas, because it's just what I call, it's just the esportswear company.
Yeah,
Is what
no,
is what we're producing. So comfort foremost. I'm envisioning that like these items are going to be worn like for many hours, like gaming, but then also to go out. So it's like trying to find that medium of like what you can wear that's comfortable, but then you can like go out at night and still be in the same thing. Uh, so yeah, I mean, the revamp was more like a quality overhaul. Uh, and then look, like just doing a clean graphic story that fit the brand, and that I'm still like figuring out, but it seems like, so far so good, like in terms of the community liking the graphics is like a little bit trickier than just like a logo hoodie. But even with the logo hoodie, it's like, it's our TSM like logo hoodie, the basic one for $60 is like, has like a raised embroidered logo on a really nice quality hoodie. So the most important thing is like that people walk away, if they're going to support TSM and buy like our hoodie or our item, that they're very happy with the way it fits, the way it feels, and the details, like those little added details.
no, that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, as someone who's wearing the TSM hoodie right now, I thank you for that extra level of comfort. I mean, actually, I think you kind of spoke on it a little bit, but I think, is it interesting because TSM obviously is a gaming brand, right? And coming from merchant apparel and fashion, do you also look at key characteristics of the industry, as gamers are often sitting down, they want to be comfortable. They also, I think nowadays a lot of the stereotype is gone. We're no longer just nerdy dudes and girls in the basement, but rather like a whole generation of hype, still into fashion, still want to look good, but also want to be comfortable. So I guess the question here is does that almost the industry as a whole take a huge point in kind of when you're coming up with the type of fashion that you're making, or the type of apparel that you're creating?
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's you gotta know your audience, right? So for me, it's a lot of research into like the TSM fan base and community. Uh, even within gaming, like, the look of TSM is going to be very different than the look of FaZe Clan. The vibe is different. Like FaZe liked really loud stuff, like real skate market kind of graphics. Like, so yeah, even within comparing FaZe Clan to TSM, different audiences. So my approach is different. I personally dress more like the TSM fan or community than the FaZe Clan one. When you see me, I'm wearing like a lot of black, a lot of like sportswear. Uh, so yeah, it's important to like, I mean, research is everything. So it's important to like, and it's ongoing. So I'm still learning what the TSM community likes. But when I see the data, it shows me that like, hey, this is really working well. So how do you double down on that? How do you like? So that's gonna basically, the reaction of the community is what drives the future of the products.
Speaking of working well, and I know you've mentioned the hoodie a bunch of times, but and I think that our next question is, what has been your favorite merch item that you've created for TSM so far? Personally, I'm not gonna lie, I have actually bought all of it, if not a chunk of the TSM core stuff. So I thought you did a phenomenal job there. And in particular, I know we said the word hoodies, but anything with that dragon or tiger print, those were cool. Slash the location marks too, those coordinates. Is there anything in particular that's been a favorite of yours?
I personally really love what we just dropped, the Neo Tokyo capsule, because that's like, because of timing, we were able to produce that overseas and get really intricate in the details, like very custom cut and sew. So like when you see like the windbreaker, it has like the custom TSM logo zipper pulls and like reflective 3M taping. Like that windbreaker actually is like a super complicated piece to make,
Oh,
but it came out well. It has binded 3M reflective taping, the TSM Nexus pattern. That one wasn't an easy one, but it came out really well. It's waterproof. Like if you run your arm under the sink, like you just watch it all like repel off, and none of it sticks. So that item I think is a standout item. But my favorite is probably the backline sweatsuit, because the backline sweatsuit is subtle, but you catch those little gleams of light off of because it has a 3M reflective piping that's the stripe that's going through the sweatsuit. And obviously with flash, like it lights up, but even when you're just wearing it, it feels super cool because it's not loud, but you can see the light bouncing on the reflective piping. So I thought that was a cool detail, and those are probably my favorite so far. But my all-time favorite comes out like next month.
oh, all right. That word statement alone has created so much hype, at least for me personally. All right, I'm excited. I'm gonna have to tap you in the next office to see if I can get a sneak peek. But that's great. Actually, honestly, the Neo Tokyo line and the Windbreaker, as you called out, I think is kind of a really key piece that is an illustration of your earlier points of just quality, right? And how much effort and focus that you have on making sure that's always going to be a part of TSM merch. I think windbreakers personally, whenever I bring them on, they're really thin and sometimes don't really do anything. At least it's just a thin line, but this one's really well made, and I'm not scared that's going to break.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I feel like with the Neo Tokyo, we're like up there with like Nike in terms of construction, fabrics, details.
No, I'd say so. I have had Nike windbreakers that ripped pretty quickly. So hyped for this one. And if you guys haven't yet, please check out tsmshop.com and go check out your own pair, especially for this next month's drop that apparently is going to be the greatest all time. I think we have one more question, and we're going to sync this up. But I think we're also interested on what your day to day is like as your role as a VP of apparel. Kind of. I think you spoke to a lot about what's big in the industry and everything, but what exactly goes into that every day that you're working on to make magic happen?
Well, in my case, I'm really hands on because I'm a designer too. Eventually, our department, I'll bring on like more graphic designers and as we grow. But my day to day is the basically part design, part meetings, part communication with possible collaborators, like different companies that align with TSM, and then just managing the team and making sure that we're hitting our goals and doing exciting things. Like the code games that we did for Cyber Monday. That was super fun. I think the community liked it, but we also had fun between me, Duncan on social media. It was fun to do that game with the code games. So yeah, day to day is just like managing, growing operationally. But in my case, it still involves a lot of design as well.
TSMU fam, his day to day is trust me, gonna be completely reshaping, and he already has everything that's happened with the TSM merch, and he's really just creating such an awesome, creating such awesome products for you all. So again, Erik, thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for being our guest. I know that every single time we talk, I always tell you how much I love hearing about what's going on, what's behind the scenes, but also hearing about your awesome career and everything that you've done. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I also wanted to thank everyone else for attending.
Yeah,
Uh,
for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, our next episode will be on December 8th at 5 p.m. next week. Our guest is Cooper Short. He's a talent manager at Icon Agency. So please join us next week on next week's episode. And remember to join TSMU at discord.gg/TSMU. Join the group, catch updates, watch your show. Everyone, thank you again for joining. It's been an amazing episode. I'll see you next time.